How's it guys, Munash here, and today we have the BrutalDLX challenge. Well, some of it at least, because this quest is just way too long and it is very repetitive. I mean, it's basically just the same 6 fights over and over again. And I started with chapter 2 because I wanted to get the hard stuff done before my champs get locked into Alliance War, because I am using a lot of my favorite champs who I do frequently bring to war. And the one thing I like about this challenge, the way the fights are designed, is how it's not too niche. Like, you don't need very specific counters for them. You can use a fairly wide variety of champs. So I tried to use some of the champs I enjoyed the most instead of just blitzing through it with Herc and Rank 2 Hulk and any other cheese options available. So I used Hulkling for Winter Soldier. Oh, and he is rank 5 now. I just took him up, so he is my latest rank 5 6-star. Because besides Herc, he is my most used Cosmic. He is the one I've been using the most in war lately. And honestly, the one I enjoy the most these days. And he is just so good. I even synced him up all the way to 200 for a little extra Fury duration. Not that he needs it, but since I use him a lot, I might as well get the most out of him. And higher Sig just makes it easier to stack more than 2 Furies. If you throw an unblockable special 2 when you're close to 3 bars of power, you can actually race your next special 2 before the first Furies expire. So this was not my best Winter Soldier fight. I just didn't time things perfectly, so I did get faulted a few times. But otherwise it was a fairly straightforward fight. Just want to make sure you don't get hit, because he does have a node that periodically makes his hits lethal. And I also used Hulkling on the Wolverines. He's not really a great counter though, he just works for the fight because he's got damage. In fact, even champs that don't hit hard can get through it if you just play with the nodes. Just gotta charge your heavy attack to build up a bunch of prowesses before your specials. In fact, I was even able to out-damage the first Wolverine with Mojo, even though he is immune to all damage over time effects. So I couldn't place any degens, it was pure hit damage. But fortunately Mojo has a 1-hit heavy, so I wasn't triggering that much regen. Then for Juggernaut, I used the Hood, and this was probably the most fun fight for me, because, well, first of all, you know how much I love the Hood. He's been my favorite mystic for quite a while now, and he just works really well for all these nodes. First of all, you got buff control, although you don't really need that. And you got a bit of power control too, just to make the fight even easier or let you play more aggressively. And of course the big thing is the invisibility, because that allows you to hold your heavy attack for as long as you need to get the bonus damage from the energy convert node. And most of Hood's damage comes from detonating the hexes with the heavy attack. So that was just getting amplified by the node, and I was just knocking him down a lot in general because I am running Mojo for synergy, because he gives the Hood an extra 3 bullets whenever you knock down the opponent. So I was never really concerned about running out of bullets throughout this quest. Because Hood is one of those champs where he does great for a single fight, but unless it has a lot of buffs, you typically end the fight with a low amount of bullets. So the next fights become harder because you don't have as much damage potential. So I often like pairing him with Mojo when I'm going to be using him for multiple fights in a quest. But I'm also an avid Mojo enthusiast, and mine is rank 5, so rest assured he also gets used on attack. So Juggy goes down, and next up we have OG Vision, and he has a few interesting nodes. The first one being Atheist, and I see what they did there because it makes Gods and Elder tagged champs deal 95% less damage. However, robots, Kree, and Inhuman champs get an extra 95% attack. So I could have used Hulkling and benefited from the big boy Fury, but I brought negative for a reason. And this Vision has kinetic transference along with basically being immune to power control. However, he is not immune to petrify, so I can still reverse his power gain. So I'm just doing the standard build up while baiting and dexing special attacks, making sure he doesn't have too much power before he's about to synthesize. Otherwise I'll end up taking a special 3, which can hurt quite a lot with all those prowesses. So I had to be a little more patient with the build up, because usually with negative I tend to parry a lot to build light energy. But with kinetic transference I can't parry that much before I have to bait a special attack, but I can still dex to build energy, which happened pretty naturally just from baiting specials. Now I'm basically at 2 bars of power, so just gotta bait a special 2 before I convert one more time, and since I'm in a corner I can actually drop a heavy attack immediately after evading. The first hit gives me a Fury buff and puts me at 2 bars of power, so I can cancel that heavy into a special 2 and then dash back to convert that Fury into light energy, which will allow me to evade. And whenever I evade I pause all debuffs for 2 seconds since I am running the Valkyrie synergy. So once I drop that special 2, I will not need to bait any more special attacks. The Petrifiers will just reverse any power he gains from synthesis and kinetic transference. So negative was quite an efficient counter for Vision, and next up we have his main squeeze Scarlet Witch. So this is one of those fights where you can use pretty much any champ for. The main node is Power Shield, although you can only gain power by holding the heavy attack. So that just opens up a lot of Chee's options, like champs that can hold it indefinitely or just hold it safely for long enough to gain a lot of power. So I used Mojo for this fight just to give him something to do. I mainly brought him for the hood synergy, but I figured I might as well also give him something to do because he is rank 5 and can do these fights in a respectable amount of time. Although I did have one annoying run where I kept on getting power drained and or poisoned before I got to my special 2. So I lost quite a bit of health from that, and the fight ended up taking twice as long as it usually does. Even in this fight I did get power drained once, although I didn't have too much power at the time. And my special 2 was not quite enough to finish off this last one. Maybe if I had one more crit, but yeah, I mean Mojo isn't exactly the best option for this fight. But like I said, pretty much anyone works, so not a big deal. She also has a node that makes her go unblockable whenever you crit, but it only lasts until the end of her next attack or the next hit, so you just gotta dex to get rid of it. So this fight can be quite fun with certain champs that can hold the heavy attack for longer than a few seconds, like Professor X or Mantis. So I finish her off with the special 1, and I don't know why I was doing full combos, since it is Power Shield and I could have gotten power drain just by critting. So this one was not the quickest, but whatever. Next up is Wolverine, and he has a very interesting node called DOT or Dot Immune. So he is immune to all forms of damage over time effects, including passive damage. And what was interesting about this fight is I was still able to out-damage him with champs that rely on damage over time effects, just because there are some nodes that increase your damage by quite a bit. The main one I took advantage of was going Berserk, which gives you a passive fury that increases by 5% potency every 0.1 second while charging your heavy attack, so another node that benefits heavy charges. And this fury has a max potency of 400%, so that is quite a big attack increase. However, it only lasts until you lose power, so you ideally want to ramp it up before dropping a special attack. There is another node that gives him a fury whenever you interrupt his heavy attack or intercept him. And once you do that 5 times, it gets removed and then you get a 200% potency fury. But I didn't really utilize that one. I just went in with Hulkling and mostly punished his heavy attack with my own to ramp up the fury a bit. So the damage wasn't as spectacular as it could have been, but it was still good enough to out damage the region, because he also has Lionheart, which makes him immune to heal reversal, and the final node makes him immune to heal block and gives him a 70% chance to heal even more whenever you hit him. So this was one of the longest fights in the entire run, but still not too bad with Hulkling. In fact, even Mojo was able to solo the first Wolverine without any degen. So yeah, the nodes can help you quite a bit for a lot of these fights. And with the right counters, the nodes can actually make the fights easier than if they didn't have nodes. So now we just have one more fight, which is of course the Hulk boss. So this is the fight that I decided to save Valkyrie for, just to make sure I can get it done without using items, because you can take quite a bit of block damage in this fight. And there's Brute Force. So he has a node that gives him plus 95% block penetration and the ability to crit through block. However, it also gives you stacking fury buffs of 5% potency whenever you dodge attacks, and these stack up to 50. I think I had about 15 by the time the fight was over. Then there's also escalating fury, which basically does the same thing for him, but it's every 5 seconds he gets the fury buff. He also has Vital Strike, which essentially gives him lifesteal from blocked hits. And then there's Conflictor, which I guess is supposed to make you block even more. So Valkyrie is a pretty good Hulk counter, although Hulk isn't really a champ that requires a counter. He's not exactly known for his defensive prowess, although he can still catch people out with that passive Unstoppable, which is something that Valkyrie can practically just ignore. And if there's one thing that Hulk is known for, it's damage. Like, he's got so much raw damage that getting hit can hurt quite a lot. I've had a rank 2 7-star for over a month now, and I still get surprised at some of the numbers he can dish out, just because of how easy it is to access that damage. But anyway, at this stage I have 14 fury buffs, so I'm going to be hitting pretty hard once I get that special 2 fury. So Dixon punishes special 2 and then drop a shortened combo with a slight pause before my special 2, just to make sure it gets blocked. And he stays blocking, so I can drop a blocked combo, punish a heavy attack, drop a normal combo, which is still doing a good amount of damage with all those fury buffs, but the blocked damage is where it's really at. Even without the bleed, I was doing 27k medium attacks. So yeah, not too bad with Valkyrie, and that's gonna be it for this one. Wish I could have gotten this out sooner, because I did complete it on Wednesday soon after it came out, but I've just been so busy with work, and there's been so much new content, and now Alliance War is back, so yeah, it's been pretty hectic. But anyway, I hope you found it interesting, and as always, thank you for watching, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon.